honored to be with you today, and I would like to associate myself with the tribute paid to Kevin. He seemed like a very great person, so I pay tribute to his action in his life, and all my sympathy to his family and his friends. I'm happy to be with you today for many reasons. The first one is like it's a perfect day to be with you today. As you said, it's the day of inauguration of a new president, the day of a new beginning. Maybe this time more than ever. An inauguration is always a new beginning, but I think this is a real new phase that we are going to see, and obviously we're very eager when it comes to I mean in France to strengthen our relationship with the US, and to start working together with the Biden administration. There are so many fields that we have to work to allow us to be back on track on many aspects. One of the main one is the climate change. But we all, I mean, we're kind of relief, but the way the transition managed to go through, despite the difficulties, we are all shocked with what happened. I mean, a few days ago in the Capitol in Washington, and we are relieved today that the transition went through, and we have this new administration. So this is a new phase when you come to all of you are passionate about the link between France and the US. You all have probably a personal story. Either you're French living in the US, in New York, or you're American with a very strong ties with France, with Paris. And this is the very story of this Paris American Club. So this is why I'm very happy to be with you today. You know, when you're a consul general, you have many hats. You're doing many things. The first one is to take care of the French community, to provide public services. So this is what we're trying to do, especially now in the time of COVID. It's not very easy, but all my team is doing its best to fulfill this mission of public service. And the other hat is to promote, I mean, to support any kind of initiative which can strengthen the relationship between France and the US, and France and New York. And we, when I look at what you're doing, when I look at the philosophy and the history of the Paris American Club, I think there aren't a better forum to illustrate the way our two countries, our two cities also, because there's also this link between Paris and New York City, are so much rooted in history and so much rooted in tradition and in mutual affection and mutual love between the two people. I like your philosophy. When you said every time you meet, it's always around a good dinner and a good glass of wine. This is exactly what I like to do, among many other things. But I like a nice dinner, and I like a nice glass of wine. I like to share good moments with friends. So it's very frustrating to meet you virtually like that. But I'm pretty sure we will meet very often in presence in a nice French restaurant in Manhattan. I mean in New York. And I would like to maybe to tell you maybe in a few words about what are my priorities and what we as a team, what are our priorities at the French Consulate General. So the first one is to help the community, the French community, to go through the crisis. This is it's a very tough moment for all of us, all of you who have been in New York during the peak of the crisis, which, I mean, I was not in New York at that time, but I know it has had a very strong impact on you, and it affected very much the New Yorkers and also the French people living in New York. So now we are trying to to continue, is what I said before, to continue providing the public service to the communities. And in times of crisis, there is more services to be rendered to the community. So it's a paradox, is that our staff is also, our team has also to work with some of kind of health protocols. So they have to work in a limited capacity, but we are asking them to do more in a time where they cannot work at full capacity. And more is that we are still giving like what we do usually, the scholarship, the passports, all this, but we also put in place some mechanism to provide for the crisis. The first one is to help as much as we can. Solve a main problem for you is the restriction at the border. We know that the fact that the borders are closed right now, at least have been closed to some extent because they are still open, but we have reduced the flux of travelers, is causing very strong and very heavy problems on the Americans and on the French. So we are responding many. May I ask somebody? As I think Francis, you left your mic open. So we know it's a serious issue for you. So we answer many questions, many phone calls. We are trying to put in place some procedure of derogation for people who have a good reason to travel to France. If you're doing business, if you're going to France for your professional activity, or for for some humanitarian reason, because you have some problems in your family, we have put in place a system where we are helping people to travel to France. We are also helping the couples who have been, let's say, separated by the closing of the border. The couples who are not married, who don't have any legal attachments. We have helped 200 couples, meaning we have helped 200 Americans to travel to France, to be able to join their boyfriend or girlfriends or partners in France. And this was a very strong and very difficult situation for many Americans who could not travel to France to meet their partner in France. So we have managed to put in place all this procedure, which are very, they are very difficult to put in place, because it was the first time we had to put in place such a procedure to help partners to be able to travel. So we had to go into a procedure of how you can prove the sentimental link between American partner and the French partner. I mean, this is this was quite tough, but we managed to do it. And despite all these efforts, we know that these closures are causing a very strong trouble for all of you. What is clear is that, and I want to be quite clear, is that the restrictions are not as strong in France as they are in the US. So there are even more trouble for French people to go to the US right now, because in March in the US, only the green card holders can, and obviously the US citizen can travel between the two countries. All the people on visa cannot travel anymore, which has caused a lot of trouble for the French community. So we're trying also to help, but there's not much we can do, because this is really something which is based on an American official decision. So we don't have a lot of leverage on this issue. So anyway, I'm not going to go with all the different aspects of for what we're doing during the crisis, but this is one of the main aspects, because it's one of the main difficulties. We are also trying to help, and I know it's one of your thing that you like very much, the French restaurants. We are trying to support as much as we can the French presence in New York. And when I say like presence, like the physical presence, the restaurants, the bars, the boulangeries, the French shops. This presence is under some kind of threat, because the situation is very difficult for all the restaurants in New York. with all the restrictions. And when I took my position, I tried to see what we could do to support, to have some kind of solidarity initiative. And there's not much we can do because when you can only, which is the case right now, only serve in the outside, you don't have indoor dining, and it's during winter, there's not much like as a French consulate you can do. So one of the idea we developed is to have a partnership with a French startup company called Mapster, and we developed a map, interactive map, which mapped all the French presence in New York. So I invite you all to go to Mapster. You download the app on your phone, and you go to, you will find it when you go to, I can send you the link to find it, but you go to New York City, and then you have the French consulate map, and there is a list of more than 300 locations in New York. It's French businesses, businesses which welcome like public with a physical presence, like bars, restaurants, shops, and it's an interactive presence. So every French people, every French lovers, every American can just can add some addresses and their most recommended places in New York. When we launched the initiative, there were 200 places, 200 locations loved by New Yorkers, and now we have more than 300 locations. So it's really it's not something which is managed by the French consulate. We have just launched the process, but now this process is very much in the hands of the French, the lovers of the French culture and the French gastronomy and the French food. So I invite all of you to make a lot of noise, to download the app and to make a lot of noise about it, because it's very helpful to know if in your neighborhood, obviously because you have been living in New York City for quite a long time, but sometimes you will be surprised that you might have a French shop or French bakery near your place that you didn't know, and you will find all the information on the app with if they do takeaway, if they do outdoor dining, if they do delivery, and you can have their contacts and know how you can order food and all this. So this is the way we have tried to help all these restaurants. And what I just want to know before I close, to tell you also before I close, is we also need to prepare the time after the crisis to see how we can bounce back after the crisis. There's all these activities in terms of culture, in terms of the economic activities, which have been affected by the crisis. So the culture has been so affected. So with Gaëtan, my friend, was in charge of all the cultural department. Obviously we can't wait for the moment we can reorganize proper cultural activities, because some activities are still organized by the FIAF, by the French Cultural Service, but they are organized mostly virtually, so they are somehow limited. But we can't wait for this moment where we can just live again and organize all these cultural activities. We need, and this is one of the aspects that I would be very much interested also in your support. It's how to promote Paris and France when the borders will reopen. Obviously, there are so many French lovers in the US. We cannot wait, and I'm sure it's your case, to go back to France. But there are some people who are not going to travel, or who will find it more difficult to travel after the crisis, because they will be reluctant to fly, because maybe they will have found some alternative to France and they will go somewhere else. So we'll try to do a lot of events to promote France and to promote French tourism in France and visiting France, to use all kind of leverage we can, the food, the wine, the Emily in Paris. I talked to the producer of Emily in Paris, Darren Starr, and he's in favor of also helping us, finding any kind of event and leverage that we can do to try to promote France and Paris, because as you may know, the Americans are the biggest contingent of tourists traveling to France, non-European tourists. There are more than 4.5 million Americans traveling to France per year. There are people who, I see some, Le Pen, Arsène Lupin is also a good way to promote France. I agree with you. 4.5 American, and they are the tourists who spend the most in France. So we have a very strong interest to attract these tourists back to France. And most of these 4.5 million comes from the East Coast, and a big part of it comes from New York City. So there will be many noise to be made about France and about how beautiful our country and how beautiful Paris is, and how important it is to travel to France. And my last point, this is my second last point, so I will close with that, is I'm also a strong believer in history. I know this is food, gastronomy, wine, history. This is also one point which is for you very, very important, especially the history of the French-American relations. The ambassador our French ambassador in DC is also a strong believer of the power of history in helping reinforcing the ties between our two countries today. I know all of you are also a strong believer of that. I know I can see Francis. I think Francis is the best example of somebody who believes that more than anybody else. So I have some initiative in my head with some French associations such as the Souvenir Français, or there are other players who can help us to try to find a lot of ideas to use some anniversaries, some historical anniversary of historical events, some maybe some monument which could be open. I mean, we need to think outside the box to try to have some milestone events that we can organize, and which can try to reaffirm this link between France and the US in the long term, in the historical perspective. So this is it. I have and I count on all the support of all the lovers of the French of France, and of the people like you who are in between the two cultures. So this is why your input will be very much important to support our efforts. So this is it. I hope I was not too long. Sorry, I'm a bit bavard, as we say in French.
Not at all. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad to hear about these initiatives that you're taking on behalf of all of us who love France. We'll definitely put the Mapster on our website, so it will be easily available.
Please.
Would you have a few minutes to entertain questions?
Sure.
So if someone has a question, please raise your hand and then we'll recognize you. Gloria, was that a question? We need to unmute. Maybe we'll come back to Gloria in just a minute. Does someone else have a question? Francis?
I have a question.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say welcome to our Consul General. We're all here to help you. I know you have a very difficult job to replace our wonderful Anne-Claire Legendre, who was loved. And you mentioned Paris a lot. We are also working for the province, especially the Alsace. You know that this year we are celebrating the 150th anniversary of the Union Alsacienne. And of course, you will be part of our celebration. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us.
I can't wait for it. As you know, I studied in Strasbourg, so I come from a province. I don't come from Paris, so I come from the deep province. Yeah.
Wonderful. Gonzague, you had a question.
Oui, bonsoir, Monsieur le Consul. Avez-vous une idée d'une date, genre été, pour l'ouverture des frontières à nouveau? Quelles seront les conditions, peut-être, pour que ça, on y arrive?
Should I answer in French or in English?
Oh, I can ask it in English. It's fine.
Yeah, English, please.
In English, okay. Absolutely no idea, and I think it's even more uncertain than. I don't know if you followed what happened on Monday.
Yeah.
Trump decided to reopen the border like one day before leaving office, and the spokesperson of Biden said that it was not going to happen. So the American, the State Department, obviously didn't reopen the border for 24 hours. So so the borders are still closed, meaning they are not closed per se, but in the France-US direction, it's only the citizens and the green card holder. So seriously, what I saw today doesn't make me very optimistic. This week doesn't make me very optimistic. But I don't know. This is a decision which will be taken by the administration, the new administration. So we'll see. And in the other direction, as I said, we are not as. The restrictions are not as high. Meaning, it's only the short-term visas that we have, short-term trips that we have reduced. But if you have any long-term visa, if you're working for an American company or any company American, you're working for a company in France, you can still go, you can still establish your activity in France, and you can still travel between the two countries. So the only thing that we have totally stopped for now is the tourism. But even if you go for a short-term visa for some kind of professional purpose, you might have an exemption, a derogation for traveling. If you request it to the French consulate, then we send back the request to Paris, and we try to get the green lights. So my answer is no, I don't know, and I'm not very optimistic, to say the least.
Okay.
That it will reopen in the short term. Of course, they will reopen one day, and of course, I know the difficulties caused by that, because this is totally contre nature. This is not natural. That you're blocking or you're reducing the human relations between our two countries. This is very, very tough for many people, and it's difficult for our two countries. But we're doing it for health reasons, and the situation is still very, very much worrying.
Thank you for your answer. Thank you.
Gloria, I believe you had a question.
I had a question, and I invited a very important diplomat from the UN to join our organization. Unfortunately, as you know, the dinner was canceled. Cristal de la Rodriguez, she is a close relative of the president of the Congo and French speaking, and she would be a lovely member for us if you're allowed. Non-American members also. Say hello, Cristal.
Absolutely.
Hello. Excellence. Elle est la nièce de le président de DRC. Elle est aussi une diplomate à l'ONU, et je crois que peut-être un fois avec John, on peut réunir. Ça va être un grand honneur.
Avec grand plaisir.
Please thank you, John, for this important opportunity, because I am one of the editors, Je suis à l'ONU, the dean of the UN Press Corps, and whatever France did, whatever event, we always attended, and we're grateful to be invited. So we hope we'll be active again. One more, I know I'm talking a lot, Excellency, but am I correct that you have the Aegis of New Jersey and Connecticut also, which can
Absolutely.
be very...
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to just to tell you that part of my heart beats in Africa. I lived there twice. I was posted twice in Africa, and I have been to DRC. I never lived in DRC, but I've been to DRC quite often. And before coming to New York, I was I advised the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I was working in the office of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, advising him on Africa and on global issues such as climate change and all these issues. But so Africa is a very much, and I would like to also to during my mission here to bring maybe more links between France, Africa, and also New York. Because there are many connections that we can be made when it comes to culture, when it comes to history, and so this is also something I would like to do. So I would be really happy to meet you.
Yes, I'll be happy to connect whoever I can connect with, and it would be my utmost pleasure. Mm-hmm.
And so, John, we're depending on you to join us one day. I hope that His Excellency will invite us, that we can go and have a tea and the pleasure of meeting. I'm not concerned about the virus if he'll receive us. Christophe also would be pleased, and if you, John, would come, then on peut faire une acte de présence, si c'est possible. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Is there one last question? Yes, Nadia, we need to unmute. Unmute in the lower, Nadia, unmute in the lower left.
Got it. Thank you. Monsieur le Consul, bienvenue à New York. Et je suis ravie d'apprendre que vous êtes aussi un fan d'histoire comme moi. Et j'attends avec impatience ces projets. I have a question regarding the, I don't know how you call them, but laissez-passer. I happen to have a client who has to go to France to get married. And as you know, in France, when you get married, you need to submit the paperwork and then wait a certain period of time and then come back for the wedding ceremony. But apparently she has trouble with the laissez-passer and obtaining, you know, one or two laissez-passer. Can you just specify a little bit the process for getting those laissez-passer?
Where does she live? Does she live in
New Jersey?
New Jersey. Okay. It depends exactly because when you if you go to France to get married, you usually you need a visa for that, a special visa, right. And I'm not sure we can deliver this visa for this purpose right now because But for the laissez-passer itself, if she wants to just to say that she wants to, because obviously the boyfriend or the partner is in France, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so then it's she needs to. All the information is on our website, and okay. She can give my contact. I will just forward the email to the head of our consular section. It's if she cannot get the visa because she cannot, this visa is not available, she can ask for this. Love is Not Tourism laissez-passer initiative. We call it Love is Not Tourism. This is the title we give to this
beautiful.
And there are some papers to bring and some criteria to fulfill, meaning they are, and I'm sure it's the case, they need to have met at least once to prove that there is some sentimental links between the two. I mean, it's what I said when I introduced this is the unknown territory for us, unknown administrative territory that we are doing is we have to establish the sentimental link between two persons, you know, but I'm sure it won't be difficult in that case.
No, they have evidence. And actually the French authorities, where the wedding is supposed to be celebrated, are trying to see if they can do an expedite wedding. I don't know if that would be possible or if that has to be explained. But I'll send her to the website.
Please send me the website, and if she's really there's the address, the email address that she can send her files to. If she's still having a trouble, she can.
Okay.
I'm sure she's not going to have a trouble, but she can contact me, and then I will put her in touch.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
So thank you all very, very much for joining us tonight, and thank you, Monsieur le Consul Général. We know that you have a tough situation to deal with here in New York, as we all do, but we're glad to see all the steps that you're taking to improve the situation for the French in New York and the lovers of France in New York, and for the merchants, French merchants in New York. It's all everything helps, and we really appreciate the time you've taken, especially on this momentous day, to join us. So we thank you, merci énormément, and nous attendons le plaisir de vous offrir un verre à la prochaine fois. For those of you who would like to stay on, we're going to have a brief review of the club for the last year. Feel free, it'll probably take another 10 minutes for anyone who would like to stay. But Monsieur le Consul Général, merci énormément.
And maybe we can take a picture. Do you, and I can tweet tomorrow about our meeting. Is it okay for you?
Yes, I've also recorded it, and so we will put it up on our website. And
okay, so I will retweet. In that case, I will retweet what you put on your website.
Yes, and I'll send you a link. Absolutely.
Right. It was such a pleasure to be with all of you, and I can't wait to meet you in person. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Au revoir.